This is a typical car remote key fob, which is about the same size as this V10 1000 lumen micro EDC light that we're going to test out on this episode of Moondog Reviews. This is the V10 flashlight here, and it comes in the similar packaging as the V3. Let's see what you get inside the box here. Got a manual in English and Chinese. You have the unit itself, which is quite a bit larger. Here, let's take a look in comparison to the V3. So yeah, quite a bit chunkier. In fact, let's take a quick measurement here. We've got almost 3 inches long and about 1.5 inches wide. And let's see, is it any thicker? Thickness is about the same, but it is a larger footprint, quite significantly, so, or at least quite noticeably. I would, roughly say it's about twice as much volume overall, but I suppose that could mean that it has a larger battery, probably, and longer capacity as far as runtime. So we'll see. I'll be charging this up and seeing how well it performs, but let's just check it out right now. Alright, let's first test out its controls. And it has 2 buttons here, and this is where it's helpful to read the instruction manual, because some of this is not intuitive, or at least it wasn't to me. You turn it on, you got the side button, and you've got your main front button, and you turn it on both of them, or either of them, with 2 taps. Now you have to do it at a certain tempo, and you have to get used to it. You'll learn what's the appropriate speed, but if you do it a little too quick, like I was doing earlier, it doesn't turn on. So you have to have a certain speed and tempo for it to register. And if you wait too long, it doesn't register either. But that's you get used to that. Anyway, you turn it on, and you can switch the different brightness modes once it's on by tapping it, single tap, and this is its lowest mode, which is the eco mode. Then you have an actual low mode, medium, and high. And there is a turbo mode, and that is by we have to have this off, but when you press down, it's like a momentary on, keep it pressed, and it goes into the 1000 lumen turbo mode. And then once you let off on the button, it turns off. There is no constant on for the turbo mode. Now, the side button, this is interesting in the manual, it controls all of these different side LED colors and modes, but also a front UV. So let's take a look at the front UV light first, and that's 3 taps on this. And there is a front UV light here. And then 2 taps turns on. And it also has a mode memory, by the way. So this is the red mode. The first mode is actually a side UV, and it's a much brighter UV color here. You have a signal, red blinking signal mode. You have a red and blue signal mode. You have a white light mode. And you have a warm light mode, very yellow, very amber. And you have a green light mode, so this would be useful, for road signaling, but also for those who need a green light for hunting. And again, red light, great for keeping your night vision without spoiling your night vision at night, so a red light is useful in that respect. But there's also a hidden mode, or at least there's an emergency signal mode, and that is if you keep this button pressed, it has an audible siren as well as going into a flashing signal mode. So let's listen to that. There you go. That's useful if you are in an emergency situation, or if you find yourself in a threatening situation to get people's attention. So that is actually a very nifty mode on this V10 flashlight. So let me get this recharged again, and then we'll take it outdoors and also do a beam test on this flashlight. Alright, we're going to test the lumens in turbo mode in my not NASA designed Lumen testing rig here. The numbers I was initially reading were well over 250,000 lux, but the numbers are dropping fast, so let's just call it 245. Converted, that comes out to about 980 lumens, which is pretty darn close to the 1000 lumens that the manufacturer claims, though it doesn't stay that bright for very long. Next, let's measure high mode on this flashlight, and I did leave this on for 30 seconds before starting the test to warm up the battery. And we're getting about 175, so that, by my calculations, comes out to, wow, 700 lumens, which is much higher than the 450 lumens that the manufacturer states. But as we can see here, those numbers are dropping fast. Most budget flashlight makers measure lumens by initial output and not sustained output, so take their numbers with a grain of salt. Let's take a look at the high beam indoors, and we can see it's rather floody. There is a hotspot, but it's very gradual into the spill. And I'm cycling through the medium, low, and eco modes. And the white version of the body is actually glow in the dark. Let's go outdoors and check the distance that this flashlight can throw. On the left, we have a fruit tree 15 feet away. It illuminates the wall behind it 50 feet away, as well as the hillside. Behind the cliffside and the hill above, there's a pine tree 60 feet up, and a telephone pole 120 feet back, though the beam barely makes it out there. Standard impact tests drop an object from 1 meter. I'm going to drop it from 6 feet onto rocks and dirt. Twice. Alright, we're going to see how long this can run in its highest mode. Let's make sure that it is on high. Alright. And we're going to run a time lapse. Now, I also like to do a waterproof test, but this particular unit, the V10, is only IPX4 rated, which means it can only survive splashes and light rain. So, yeah, not really something that you want to submerge in water. Now, the footage is getting darker because the room is getting darker. It's nightfall. But the flashlight is still going. In fact, it's been over 100 minutes. And by the time the battery finally gives out, it is almost 3 hours of runtime. Just shy of 180 minutes. Alright, so before I get into what I think of the V10 EDC light, I want to ask you a quick favor. Hit that like button right now. It just takes a second to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost anything when you hit that subscribe button, but you're telling the AI, the algorithm, that this is good content. And it's more likely to suggest this video to other folks who haven't seen it with interests like yours. And if you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified when I post my next product review video, which might be another cool EDC light like this one. So this EDC light performed better than I was expecting, and certainly well within the specs that the manufacturer claims that it does. In my testing, and granted, you know, this is just sort of rough estimate of lumen output. At high, the manufacturer claimed 450. I got a little bit higher than that, so actually that performed better, and certainly better than the V3 that I had tested previously. And if you want to see the review on the V3, I'll post it in the video description, as well as on my website at moondogindustries.com. So definitely check out that review on the V3. So the V10 is a little bit bigger than the V3, but still quite svelte, or still quite compact. At turbo mode, I was getting actually pretty darn close to the 1000 lumens that it was claiming, so I'll give it a pass. I'll say that it probably does output 1000 lumens, which is really impressive for a light this small. And even despite the fact that it is this small, it still was able to run for almost 3 hours at high mode. Granted, not the full lumen output the entire time, but still, for a runtime of nearly 3 hours, this is really good for a flashlight with an internal battery this small. And, you know, this is, again, as I mentioned, a little bit bigger than the V3, but still, you know, pretty compact and small. If you already have a key fob, which is about the same size on your keychain, I really, you know, I couldn't realistically think of attaching this to my keychain with two things this big, but this is still quite compact, and I would probably have a good use for this in my emergency kit, roadside kit that I have in my car. I love the fact that it has this magnetic tailpiece, because then I could use it as a work light underneath my hood, or you could even use this as an emergency signal light if you had a flat tire on the road. Not only does the side light light up. Why is it not lighting up now? There we go. Of course. Again, as I was mentioning, you just have to get used to the kind of tempo with this, and a little bit with practice, you'll get better at this. But you can see the signal light is, quite noticeable, and you could even just tail stand this on the road. But more importantly, because it has that magnetic bit at the end, you could just slap this to the side of your car, and this is a good emergency signal light. So that's great. The other feature that I like about this is that it has the emergency siren built into it. So if you're interested in picking up one of these V10 flashlights, I'll include product links as well as more information on my full written review at moondogindustries.com, so definitely check that out. And again, if you like this video, if this was a helpful review video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Moondog, out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.